and I was up at Sanford, and Chad was speaking. And I was so moved by his presentation that I asked him to come and talk to you. This company started in 2019, was inspired by his 10-year-old son. The mission started as a way to honor first responders that were lost in the line of duty. He's a UCF grad. I'm going to let him speak to all the other things he does, but if you would please give a warm welcome to Chad.
Well, I guess it's afternoon now. Good afternoon, everybody. Rich, thank you so much for the invite. It's truly an honor to be here. As mentioned, my name is Chad Cartledge. I am the co-founder and CEO of Running for Heroes. While they're doing that, I was going to start off with a couple questions. First off, show of hands, how many folks here are veterans? And how many folks have served in some capacity as a first responder as well? Keep your hands up. I want to start by saying thank you so much for your service. What you do matters, and it's a big reason why my son was inspired to start this mission. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service. The second question I'd like to ask is a show of hands. How many of you have heard of Running for Heroes before? All right, that's what I actually like to see. I see maybe one hand here. So today I'm going to share a little bit about our organization, Running for Heroes. Again, my name is Chad Cartledge, co-founder and CEO of Running for Heroes, and our mission was founded by my son when he was 10. He's now 15. His name is Zachariah Cartledge. So to give you a little backstory, what inspired him to start this mission? When Zachariah was in elementary school, he was a runner. He signed up for cross country and would always do as many 5Ks as he could. And one of the 5Ks that he ended up doing in 2017 was one that was done in Orlando. It's actually done in Altamont that honored first responders that were lost on 9/11. And as part of this particular 5K, one of the things that they would offer if you gave a little donation is they would let you get the name badge of a fallen first responder who was lost on 9/11. And Zachariah's always had a close connection to law enforcement. His best friend's dad was a cop. So he wanted an officer who was lost on 9/11. And the name badge that he was given was for the officer named Officer Walden Stewart. He served at Port Authority in New York and New Jersey Police Department. On the morning of 9/11, Officer Stewart was working in the subway stations below the towers when the attacks happened. So his first job was to help clear out the subway stations to make sure everybody was out. And once the subways were cleared, he then ran up into the towers to try to help save as many folks as he could. Sadly, Officer Stewart was inside the towers when they collapsed. They actually never even recovered his body. But what they did recover was his badge, his handcuffs, and his gun. And the reason why they knew it was his name was engraved on every one of those items. So this was the name badge that Zachariah got. Zachariah took it upon himself to do a report for his school to talk about who his hero was. And he decided that for all of 2018, he would run every 5K carrying that name badge. And his goal was to be able to go to New York City and do this run in New York at the end of the year. By the grace of God and by many folks that believed in this effort that he started, he was able to raise enough funds to go to New York. And as it turned out, the widow of this officer was still alive, was still living in New York City, was still closely connected to the Port Authority Police Department, found out that this kid spent the entire year honoring her husband and wanted to meet him. And it was that meeting at the end of 2018 that set off this idea that Zachariah had. And I'll never forget the plane flight home. He goes, "Dad, why was she so excited to meet me?" And I explained to him, I said, "Son, it's because for the entire year, he kept the memory of her husband alive." So he goes, "Dad, if doing that meant so much for her, what if I do a mile for every first responder who's killed in the line of duty?" And so I said to Zachariah, on average, we lose over 200 first responders in the line of duty every year. It's a lot of miles. He says, "I don't care, Dad, I want to do it." So Zachariah did just that. So January of 2019, he set out on a mission to run a mile each time a first responder was killed in the line of duty. He started this mission in Winter Springs, Florida, which is where we're currently based. And sadly, since that first mile, Zachariah has now conducted over 1,500 miles for first responders who gave the ultimate sacrifice. He's also conducted miles in 45 states now across the country, as well as in Canada, Puerto Rico, as well as Washington, D.C. So as his mission grew, he started inspiring other kids. Because what made these runs special is every run that we would conduct, we would not only record the run so the family can tune in and watch that run to see their hero being honored. And every flag that we would carry, we would fold that flag after the run, we would send it to the surviving family, along with a note that Zechariah would handwrite. Over 1,500 flags now have been sent, and as these runs were getting published, other kids started seeing what Zechariah was doing and they wanted to join. I'm proud to say that in the last 2 years, we have now expanded. Zechariah is no longer the only runner. We now have a total of 5 kids that run across the nation as part of our organization. 2 of them are based right here in Central Florida. We also have a young man named Andrew that runs out of Gainesville, Georgia, a young lady named Morgan that runs out of Brick Township, New Jersey, and a young lady named Teresa out of Las Vegas, Nevada, that also helps run on our fallen heroes. And I'll talk about Teresa a little bit more in just a second. So July of 2019, we officially became 501c3, and the first goal that we had as a mission was we wanted to be able to fund these flags. So as I mentioned, every time we run, the flags that we carry get sent to the surviving family. Flags are not cheap when you're buying them $200, $300 a year and sending them to the families. So we had a couple businesses step up and say, hey, this is something that I think you should see about getting support for. And so we put out a campaign saying, hey, this is something we're looking to do with these runs, who would like to support? In 24 hours, we raised enough money to fund over 500 flags. That was more money than we knew what to do with, so we decided let's do even more good for our first responders and use these funds to help us other heroes. So that launched what we call our Injured First Responder Grant Program. Essentially, anytime a first responder was injured in the line of duty, we wanted to be able to help them during that time that they were recovering. I'm proud to say that since our first grant was given to an officer in Illinois in 2020, Running for Heroes now has been able to get back over $500,000 to first responders who've been injured in the line of duty, including some right here locally in Central Florida. We've actually given grants now to first responders in over 25 states across the country. So I mentioned Teresa is a young lady out of Las Vegas. That's one of our runners. In 2021, she first learned about Zechariah because Zechariah was actually doing a run in Las Vegas to honor one of their fallen heroes. And her family approached us and said, do you guys do anything for canines? Now, we had wanted to do runs for canines, but the problem was, many of you remember, 2020, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it added over 200 miles to the mile count for Zechariah. That's how many first responders were killed as a result of COVID-19. There were too many miles for him to continue, because in 2020, he had conducted over 400 individual miles. So we told her, we said we would love to be able to honor our canines in the same way, but we just don't currently have the manpower. It's just one kid. And so Teresa approached us with that idea of, well, what if I am the one that runs for the canines? So we went before the board and we thought it was a beautiful idea to get more kids involved and help one of our heroes. And in 2021, we launched Running for Heroes Canines. Sadly, we've done over 75 miles since 2021 for canines that have been killed in the line of duty. But as part of her efforts, we try to do what we can to help prevent line of duty deaths for our canines. So we give equipment to different canines across the country that are in need, especially in those rural communities that don't have a lot of the support that some of the big agencies have. I'm proud to say that as part of her efforts, over $50,000 now has been awarded to canines across the nation. So in 2022, we took a hard look at our mission, realized that at the core of what we do, we honor our fallen. But none of our grant programs were really for our fallen, right? Except for the flag. Flag, while it's a great thing, it means lots of families, it doesn't help the monetary support that these families need in their darkest times. So in 2022, we launched what we call our Families of Our Fallen Beneficiary. Essentially, as long as we get the approval from the agency or the surviving families, we would spearhead fundraising campaigns to help support these families whose first responder was killed in the line of duty. Since 2022, a little over $325,000 has been raised and given back to surviving families. And the last aspect of what we do on the funding side of our mission is we create what's called the Zechariah Cartledge Scholarship Fund. And no, it's not a scholarship for my son, but it is a scholarship that we've created for all of our other youth runners. And it's named after Zechariah, who actually is not eligible for this particular scholarship. But every time we get a youth runner now, we want to make sure that we invest in their future in the same way that they're investing their evenings to help us honor our fallen heroes. So we created a scholarship fund. We already have, actually, as of this morning, it's now over $10,000 has been designated towards scholarships for these kids that run as part of our mission. So in 2022, we expanded to where we no longer could run the mission out of my home. And so we moved into a facility in Winter Springs. And what is very special about this facility is it's broken into two different aspects. The first aspect is where we operated the mission, but we also gave and still continue to give our local first responders 24/7 access to the facility. So throughout the day, throughout the night, they can come through, grab a drink, use a clean facility, have a safe office where they can do the reports. Sadly, there's been a handful of miles that we've conducted for officers that were sitting in their patrol cars, eating their dinner. They did not see somebody walk up on the side mirrors and they were finished. We wanted to make sure that in our community that doesn't happen. So we opened up our doors for our first responders so that they have a safe place where they can take a few moments to recharge. But the other side of our building is the part that to me really stood out. And it was what we call our tribute. So we launched this tribute hall because many surviving families have actually over the years donated to us some of their heroes' uniforms, their badges. And in fact, we've also been donated a 300-pound piece of steel beam from the North Tower of the World Trade Center site. And the reason for all of this is because we also want to do our part to educate not only our youth, but our communities on the sacrifices that our first responders made, and also those heroes of 9/11 that ran in while everybody else was running, looking for help, right? So as part of this tribute hall, we do just that. It's a free facility, so nobody ever has to pay an admission. It's where they can come and learn about the over 1,500 heroes that we've honored. And there's also a section specifically designated to educate folks on 9/11 and heroes that have made the ultimate sacrifice. Now, fortunately, due to circumstances out of our control, in the last couple of months, we were actually forced to have to leave our tribute hall that we opened in 2022. And we just moved into our new facility. It's still in Winter Springs, technically, the mailing address is Winter Springs, but it's actually Castleberry's jurisdiction. But our goal is to reopen the tribute hall. Not only is our space actually bigger now, it's actually a much affordable facility for our mission as well. And we invite anybody that wants to come through, even during the building process. We'd love to show you around and let you see how we honor those heroes. So if anybody is interested in paying us a visit, we'd love to have you. And what's great about this location as well is since we're actually in two different jurisdictions, we're right on the dividing line of two jurisdictions, we actually now have more local agencies that have access to our facility, which gives more heroes the opportunity to have a safe place to go when they need a few moments to take a break. So the Running for Heroes Reach, we are locally founded based in Central Florida, but we are a national organization. We have now a little over 381,000 followers on our social media channel. Our founders appeared on national news networks such as Fox and Friends, Good Morning America, Sea Party. And actually, if you were to look up the history of the state of Florida's Back to Blue Award, which was created in 2019 by Attorney General Ashley Moody and Governor Ron DeSantis, you'll see that Zechariah was actually the first ever recipient of that award. And funny story, you see this photo of Zechariah with the governor and the Attorney General on the right hand side of the screen. So when we went up there to receive this award in 2019, there was a local newspaper there that was doing an article on this presentation, and they captured this photo, and they posted a beautiful article. It's still online right now. But if you were to Google and look up that article, this photo is there. And what is awesome is it still says this online now. Underneath the photo, the caption reads, Zechariah is standing proudly with his parents after receiving the back So I've been keeping that in my back pocket. I was thinking when Ron was running for president that somebody might get hold of this and try to create unnecessary drama about a kid that he didn't announce, but we always thought that was pretty funny. That's still there. And then lastly, Zechariah was also being considered for the Presidential Medal of Freedom back when President Trump was in office. So we were very honored about that. And quick sidebar to this young gentleman that does the shows. I think it's awesome what we do. Our mission was started by a child. I will always tell everybody at field trips that some of the loudest voices for change are our kids. Our organization's proof. This young man is proof. And off the record, once we're done, I'd love to figure out maybe we can get you and Zechariah doing an interview with a share with our 380,000 followers. That might help me get some more supporters. So talk with me afterwards, okay? So that's a little bit in a nutshell about Running for Heroes. However, before we open the door to some questions, I do have a short video that I'd like to share with you guys.
Hello, I'm Gary Sinise. Running for Heroes is an organization founded by Zechariah Cartledge, who since starting his mission has run over 1,300 miles in honor of first responders lost in the line of duty. Through his efforts, the 13-year-old founder has awarded over $600,000 to injured first responders and families of fallen first responders. And furthermore, alongside his effort, 10-year-old Teresa has led the Running for Heroes Canine mission, which has awarded over $20,000 in equipment to canines across the country.
My husband was an avid runner, and I felt this young man gave me something that I would not have been able to do in his honor, to take his last run. This was my husband's last run.
We hadn't talked for far too long. I learned the day that you were gone. Wish we had just one more chat. A chance to smile, and a chance to laugh. 'Cause you were bulletproof and 10 feet tall. Someone like you could never fall. At least that's what I always thought. And in that moment, you were lost. And now a hero taken way too soon. A man to man, he hung the moon. I'll wait, my friend, to meet again. But to that day, remember when this world you made a better place. Your kind soul and smiling face. The sun will sure shine bright a whole less often. You're gone but not forgotten.
So one quick note in that video that you just saw, that very last clip, was after I doing hundreds of miles and had the drone go out. You notice how many law enforcement members were out for that. That was actually a run we conducted right there locally. Coincidentally enough, that run was done, the one in that particular video clip was done 3 years ago today. The reason why I know that is because 3 years ago today is when we conducted the 1 mile run for Orlando Police Department Officer Kevin Valencia. So I find it no coincidence or no bit of fate that the day that you invite me to come out is the day that we ran honor fallen hero from right here in Orlando. It's a God thing to me. Thank you guys so much for your time. Like I mentioned, I'm more happy to take some questions. If you guys would like to support Running for Heroes, we have some clips available. Right now, our biggest project is get the tribute hall reopened. I'm proud to say that our tribute hall last year was able to welcome several schools from the Seminole County Public School District to our facility, and we've been in talks with Seminole County Public Schools. They want to triple the number of schools that come out this next year, and even Orange County Public Schools has even given some hints that they're interested in learning more as well. And it's all about educating these kids so that they know the sacrifices our first responders make, bridge that gap between our youth and our first responders. Hopefully, as these kids grow up, we're going to start seeing that long duty death number come down because kids are being taught about the sacrifices these heroes make. So, on that note, I'd love to take some questions.
Sure. I'm sure you got his card so you can do an interview with him.
I don't have a card yet.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you a call.
It is. Well, hey, Joe. So this happened a while ago when we first started doing this. How long did this take before this became your full-time job?
Very good question. So the first 3 years as a runner, I was still working full-time over at Full Sail University. This became my full-time job in 2022. I'm the only one on staff for our organization. Our board of directors is entirely all volunteer. Actually, our president is a sergeant for the Orange County Sheriff's Office, also Orlando himself. And our board of directors consists of first responders, business owners, and community members and survivors, which is very important to us. But this has been my full-time job since 2022.
Well, I'm getting over there. Chad, how much does one of the flags cost?
Very good question. So on average, if you factor in the cost of the flag, getting the flag shipped to us so that we can use it for the run, and then getting it shipped to the families after, it's about between $30 to $50 per flag. And like I said, we average sadly about 250 runs a year for fallen first responders. So quick math, 250 times 50 is roughly what it takes to fund the flag mission. That's just one aspect of the mission as a whole.
So I come from the law enforcement camp, and I think the second thing, I'm just curious, what do you need to get the next space open? What's the projection?
Yeah, very good question. So we do have a contractor that's currently already started some of the electrical facility now. It's actually the same contractor that built our first version of the Tribute Hall. The biggest obstacle that we have currently with our new facility is it's an industrial section of town, and it's really a giant warehouse. And the HVAC units within these facilities were designed to provide enough air to the enclosed areas that were already included as part of the layout. But getting the warehouses air conditioned, because obviously we'll be bringing in drop ceilings and a lot of other things to keep the facility cool. That has become what's likely going to be the largest expense for us. And then we've also had a decent expense with the IT, because one of the things that makes this facility quite special, as I mentioned, every run is recorded in their entirety. When families come and visit us, they're actually able to pull those run videos up inside the Tribute Hall and have a private moment where they can rewatch these runs. So we try to make it easy for them as well to do that. But that is the biggest thing for us right now more than anything, is just the cost of everything these days is going up, and that includes construction costs and labor costs and lumber, and so that's the biggest thing for us is getting that hit these HVAC. So thank you, by the way, for your family service. It's appreciated.
Any more questions? Chad, thank you for being here. Thank you and your son for that morning.
Let's thank you again. God bless you guys.
We have a little gift for you for coming today, to remember your time.
Okay, thank you very much. Was not expected. Okay.
Great, what a great.